Well, good afternoon, everybody.
Hello.
Okay, this is time. We are not yet time, but I think we're doing quite well. It's not yet 1 o'clock, but we're already starting now. So it's very good to be together here. For me, it's the first time to be in Bulgaria, and it has already been very special. Not only the weather, but also meeting, especially Sunday. We met people in church here. Be among you today, and also for the coming days. So we're going to start to talk about church and the people in the margin. And I realized there's nothing new talking about the margin. I was looking at the website and I saw a kind of summary from the conference in March. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you talked about 3 different subjects, and I think about self-sufficiency in finances, strengthening the church in prayer and study, and also strengthening the marginalized community. So talking about the margins, yeah, is nothing new for you. But there we talked about communities. Now we want to go a step further. What about in every community there are people in the margin? In every congregation there are people in the margin. Now that's a little bit we want to discuss in the coming 2 days. And it's not a seminar that we are going to preach. Because the good thing is, I think I'm the only exception here among you. I'm not a pastor, yeah, among all these theologians. So I'm a bit marginalized. I have an agricultural background. So I'm not a pastor, and you will see the difference between a pastor and a non-pastor. I usually talk a bit short. Yeah, I don't have long sermons. So the pastor is sitting here, and I think he will have more words than I have. But for me, I would like to start. Yeah, and I think starting this is, as I said, we are not lecturing, but we want to learn together. The aim of this conference to hear your voices, to hear your opinions, to hear your thoughts, what it means to reach out to people in the margins. And we want to take those ideas and share it with others. So it's a learning session for you and for us. So for all of us, we're here to learn. And therefore, really want to have your input in all what we're going to say. For all of us, I think English is the second language. So don't be shy. For me, it's the second language, and I was already corrected by my brother, which was very nice, yeah, because I wrote words differently. And Tim, you have to write it like this. And I think that is what I like, because we're not perfect in English. I'm not perfect in English. It's my second language, yeah. So please, don't feel shy. Talk as much as you can in English, and we can understand one another. On the other hand, it's also good that we got some translation. Yeah, I think that will also help. I think we should start with a word from the Bible. I think then we'll have introduction, but let's start with a small passage from the Bible. And I would like to read a passage from Luke. Luke chapter 8, verse 26. I don't know if somebody can read it in Bulgarian language. I think then it's easier. Luke chapter 8, verse 26 till 38. Is anybody can read these few verses? Yeah? Thank you. Well, a few things which speaks to me quite well, I think, is the first thing. I think Jesus stepped into the boat and he went quite a distance to meet this person. I think this man, a demon-possessed man, he was living alone. I think he was sent out, or he left the town. So I think if you talk about marginalized, this person was marginalized. He didn't have clothes. He was just roaming around in a very isolated area for many years already. And when I think about it, then Jesus stepped in the boat, sailed to this particular area to meet this person. Looking for a marginalized person, sometimes you have to go far, sometimes just outside of church. But I think here it's so special that Jesus particularly went out to this particular person. He talked to him, he healed them, and then at the end of the chapter or this passage, Jesus stepped in the boat again. Yeah? So his main purpose is people asked him to leave, yeah, and Jesus left. But you can also think the main purpose for Jesus taking all this way, yeah, was just to meet this person, to look after this person. It's quite an important, step Jesus took to meet this particular marginalized person. Jesus stepped out, went to the boat, but also when he was finished, he was sent away, but he left again, stepped in the boat. So he particularly went to see this person. I think that's very nice. So when we go out, we have to look and we find people wherever they are. Yeah, and I think Jesus, took the boat to find this person. And he was just there. And of course, this person knew that Jesus was coming. I think it was said here, I said, Jesus, Son of the Most High God, I beg you, don't torture me. So this person also knew Jesus. Sometimes it's very interesting that we meet people who have a little bit hurt, maybe. They don't know maybe everything, but they might have a little clue about the gospel. And this person also knew something about the gospel. And then Jesus healed this person. And I think that's so nice. And I've lived in Africa for some time, and I was living among people who liked cattle, yeah, and also pigs. They were herding them. And when they were reading this passage, yeah, they were always surprised. They say, now, just saving one life, yeah, for Jesus cost how many pigs? A large herd of pigs. And that's a different economics, yeah. I always was surprised when I said it's a different economics in the kingdom of God, yeah. So many pigs was offered for the saving of one person's life, yeah. And that's God's economics. And I think it's so nice that, God takes so many things, yeah. Nothing is too costly to save a person, to talk about the gospel, to bring people to Christ. Nothing is too costly. Now, that's something which I found in this passage so particular, reaching out to people in the margin, and nothing is too costly to reach out to the people in the margin. That's what we're going to talk about in the coming days. And I think we will go many times back to the Bible, because that's how you're guiding us. Yeah? The Bible, what does the Bible say? And we want to learn from the Bible. What does the Bible say about people living in the margin? Now, we're going to work together. Yeah? We're going to think together. And we want to see what it will cost together. Then we're going to see if it works. It worked, yeah. Now, a few words of welcome. Welcome on behalf of Pastor Daniel, but we feel already very welcome, but you're all welcome. And what I've heard, you are coming from different parts of this nice country. And maybe what we can do, getting to know one another. Yeah? Maybe share briefly a little bit about your congregation, where you come from, so that we get at least a little bit of an idea, and we will also introduce ourselves afterwards. Where do we start? I will start with Fancy. Oh.
Здравейте на всички. Аз съм Венци от един много хубав град Ловеч, който се намира в централна България.
Hello, my name is Venci and I am from a very beautiful town of Lovech in central Bulgaria.
Аз съм най-младия пастор между вас.
As you can see, I am the youngest of pastors.
Имах тази възможност да бъда и пастор по време на комунизма.
I was a pastor during communism.
Да.
How many years?
За колко години служиш, Venci?
40.
For 40 years, I am a pastor.
40 години. Лошото е, че днеска някакси е забързани в ежедневието ни. Започнахме да изпускаме тези маловажни хора, но за Бога няма маловажен.
It is pity that we living in very fast society, we miss those people that we speak about today. But for God, there is no one that is marginalized.
Всеки един човек е важен за Бога. Дори и тези, които ровят в кофите,
Even people are pushed the boundaries and they are looking for food in the bins.
всеки един от тях има нужда от любов и да им кажем, че Христос дойде за тях.
Hello, my name is Vladimir. I'm pastor from a little less than Pastor Venci. Not a little is too little. I mean, I'm pastoring for 13 years now, and I'm pastor of Ruse Global Methodist Church, and I have a wife and a little, not so little kid, 18 years old. That's it in short. Okay.
Здравейте, аз съм Ивайло. Short name Иво. И съм пастор в Лясковец. Това е малко градче по-централно от Ловеч в България. Да. Църквата е малка и е месена. Има българи и роми. Моята съпруга е пастор в Велико Търново. Имаме 2 деца на почти 7 и на година и 8 месеца.
Късме. Здравейте, аз съм Димитър. Служа в Тръстиково, Дългопол и затвора в Разделна. В Разделна ходя сам, в Тръстиково и Дългопол с жена ми заедно служим, която е тук, сестра Лидия.
I'm Margarita. I serve in a small town against central kind of Bulgaria called Sevlevo. I have a small congregation of quite intelligent people. I have one American and one Brit in the congregation.
Аз съм Диана или Дида и съм съпруга на Венци. Да, и служим в Ловеч.
Аз съм Лида, съпруга съм на Митко и служим в Тръстико и в Дългопол.
Аз съм Веско. Служа в църквата. Като се замисля вече май доста години, на половината на Венци. Служа в Стралджа, в едно малко градче. И като всяко малко градче обхваща всички етноси, може да се каже, присъстват там. Без арменците. Но имаме щастието да се срещаме тук с тях. Работата в, както и в малките, така и в големите градове, особено в църквата, винаги е свързана с много предизвикателства. И аз най-вече благодаря за това, че Господ е Той, който ни дава сила не само да ги преодоляваме, а да и вършим Неговата воля.
Здравейте, аз съм Калчо и съм член от църквата в Стралджа, също и син на едно от семействата, които започнаха църквата. И откакто се върнах от Гърция 2015 и след това напуснах работа, която ми откраднала много от времето, се върнах в църквата и от повече от 5 години насам изпитвам голяма нужда и радост от служенето в църквата. И се моля Бог все повече да ме използва за Неговите цели.
Hello, I'm Krasimir from Burgas city, which is southeast part of Bulgaria, and I serve as a pastor around 30 years old, and I'm married also and have a son who is 70 years old.
Как беше точно? Някой го е върнал там.
Здравейте. Само да свършат разговорите само. Здравейте, казвам се Владимир. Това е Владо ми е съкратеното име. Служа в Плевен от 27 години. Също и в Мизия, посещавам църквата в Мизия, една по-малка църква, която е на 100 км от Плевен до река Дунав. Женен съм, имам 2 деца и 2 внука.
Здравейте, аз съм Нерсес. В Методистската църква служа вече 24 години, от който последните 2 години като пастор на Методистската църква в Шумен. Същевременно съм пастор за арменоговорящите във Варна и съчетавам служенията.
Аз съм Стоян. Служа в Долни Чифлик и Старо Оряхово. Хората, сред които служа, са от етнос, който се наричат копанари. Са румънско говорящи и роми, да. И също служи в затвора в град Варна.
Здравейте, аз се казвам Даниел и съм пастор на църквата във Варна от 2016 година. И освен това, от известно време, в неделя вечер водя богослуженията, част от богослуженията на църквата в Максуда, където се налага да пея, да приказвам, да правя общо взето всичко, да ги уча как се празнуват празниците християнските и всичко от АБ. Но е много забавно, защото е абсолютно различно от това, което върша тук.
In English. Hello, my name is Cvetan Iliev, and I serve in the Sophia Church, the Sophia Methodist Church, Dr. Albert Long Church. I cannot say the church has very known ministry within a specific ethnic group or a specific marginalized group, but once in a while I am stumbling upon people with disabilities and with organizing events for such people, most likely concerts, but not us, other people. Through them, we have such a connection. We have such a touch with the marginalized groups of people. I serve in Sofia for the last 5 years, and my ministry started during the COVID pandemic.
Yeah. My name is Jan. I think it's easy. A little bit about myself. I'm at the moment pastoring in a congregation in the Netherlands, very close to Amsterdam. And it's a very small congregation. That's possible. You can react on that. Yeah.
Някой иска да каже нещо, вдигнете ръката, за да можем да дойдем с микрофончето, понеже после няма да е пълноценен запис. Yes, yes.
Въпросът ми е, ако бяхме всички те, които играхме играта, ако бяхме всички християни, дали трябваше всяка крачка да бъде извършена напред, а не назад, тъй като считаме, че Бог ще ни помага във всяка една ситуация, ако му дадем пълно доверие, разбира се.
Very, very sharp question. Yeah. What do we think?
Good point.
Good point. What do you think, Vladimir?
I think that it's the question about the free will, which is not very well explainable by our logic. Sometimes people, even in the Christian community, do very weird things and very bad choices. So I agree that the Christian should not do steps backwards. However, we see that some Christians do make steps backwards. And I cannot explain it other way than the choice which is free for everyone. We can do all the bad things that the people without faith can do, if we want that.
Yeah. In this case, what we have asked for, you have never had a situation that it was your choice. All those things happened to you. You were born disabled. You were born in a community. Your parents got homeless. And that has impact on your life. In many cases, it's not a choice, but things that are given in your life. Yeah. So for a Christian, the givens may be the same. Yeah?
But I think I still think that the personality of every individual is also very important, because all people, they have different gifts. So your progress or your development cannot be the same like the progress of all others. And sometimes your life is not going simply well, despite of being Christian. You know, you are going in a very darkest place sometimes because you fail.
Yeah.
Because we Christians also fail. You know, the idea that our life is constantly a big win all the time, it's unrealistic, for sure. I know the idea is to go forward and higher, but all we are humans, so, and different personalities, because everything in this game is also supported or made more difficult because of the personality of the particular individual. You know, there are people with disabilities with so strong will, you know, and they can do everything, and they can achieve a higher goal without, you know, any problem, you know. And people with all necessary means, family environment and everything, you know, and they simply are not progressing at all. So I think it's more complicated.
It is.
Faith is a key element, but you have it in a mixture of different type of personalities, circumstances, objective realities, and so on and so on.
Yeah. And maybe to add on this only one thing, it's very important that you don't presume that someone is in a certain position that you think if he has been doing otherwise, he would have been in a different position. Then you start blaming him for something that happened to him. And that's also something that we do easily. Especially when you look at people who are not progressing or not doing well at school.
But sometimes not because they do not want to do it, but the whole life situation is difficult. So they are not moving forward, and then you start blaming them as well is not helpful. So please, when some Christian elements come in, maybe it should be the element of grace.
Yeah.
And not about complaining or blaming someone for where he is. They have, just an example, there was a lot, people who are very rich always think it's due to their own effort. But all investigations show that people who are extremely rich in the world, there are many things that just were lucky. That's not because they are good, clever people. They are not more than other people, but they had the luck or the circumstances were different for them than for others. So don't praise those who are doing well only because for who they are, and don't blame others for who they are and where they are. You don't know everything. Okay, this was our game. Other remarks? Okay. Красимир.
Аз бих искал да споделя моите наблюдения. Направи ме впечатление, особено това, което каза брат Нерсес, че бездомникът трябва да полага усилия, за да не бъде такъв. Всъщност, моята работа включва и хора от ромски произход. И има такава част, група от тях, които просто не желаят да се променят, а да останат в тази сфера или в тази общност на маргинализираните. Те просто, за тях тази ситуация е зоната на комфорт. Въпреки усилията, които християните полагат, църквата полага за тяхното интегриране, има такива хора, които не желаят да бъдат вън от тази да излязат от тази група, сфера. Но истина е, че има и такива, които всъщност от маргинализирани вече са в другата група на интегрираните, които пък полагат усилия и се виждат такива резултати. Това, което исках да кажа е по-скоро, че по отношение на това, че има наистина хора, които за тях това е комфорт да си останат в тази маргинализирана среда. Защото те не желаят да полагат никакви усилия. За тях това е окей. Въпреки усилията, които църквата, християните полагат.
We come to that later. Please let us keep that question in mind, because that's about how exclusion and marginalization works. Yeah, we will come to that again. Please keep the question. How do we, if we want to help people, why it's not working? What is happening there? Yeah, we come to that point. Okay, room for one last reaction? Стоян.
Казах, че всъщност имам такъв действителен случай преди доста години. Имаше една жена, която спеше на ЖП гарата, и ние няколко християни отидаха, всъщност по тяхна инициатива, отидахме за да я вземем оттам и да я заведем в един дом за бездомни хора. И когато я заведахме там, директорката на този дом каза, че всъщност тя много пъти е била водена и от други хора в този дом, но след това се е излизала и така и харесва да живее. Защото се добавя към социалната пенсия повече пари, отколкото получава от държавата. Чрез просия.
And she was making more money than her social pension.
Но аз съм се сблъскал нещо подобно като настоя. Като го водя в старчески домове, тези хора стоят известно време и бягат. Защото в старческия дом има ред, има дисциплина, а те искат просто да имат един хаотичен живот. Не искат да влязат в някакъв ритъм, в това, което самото общество диктува.
Yeah, thank you. We are coming to the case studies. Looks like that.
Different cases.
Yeah, you have different cases. That we have to go there. Last one, and then we go for the short break. Is that okay?
Да. Само когато наблюдавах четирите групи, във всеки от тези групи някъде има подкрепа. Но всъщност, нали, понеже семинар е християнска, има още една група, която е отхвърлен от всички в някои църкви. Говорим за благочестиви хора, които много често са отхвърлени от някои църкви, които не са много благочестиви, но са отхвърлени и от обществото, защото не им трябва благочестиви хора. Света, да кажем. Нали, и като си замислям, защото има, каквото и да кажем, особено по традиционните църкви, съществуват подобни случаи. Когато някой духовник, дори когато е по-благочестив, епископа го маха, защото не му харесва чак толкова. Тоест светците на църквата, така да кажем. Да, нали, дали по принцип ще стане дума и за подобното явление, защото тук гледам, нали, има за сегрегация, за интеграция. Не, мисълта ми е, че примерно, нали, има сегрегация. Бездомниците са сегрегация. Там другите, да кажем... Нали, тук има в схемата, аз зато и. Групи изключени от обществото се събират и подкрепят един друг. Но много рядко, нали, благочестиви хора, които са изключени от църквата заради святостта си, могат да намерят в подобна група.
We can see them as a marginalized group, very specialized, one but a marginalized group.
Yeah, I think
the saints are marginalized in a way by the church.
I think you can say Christianity has been, in many phases of history, been marginalized. In some places more than others. So, but there is a very big difference between being marginalized because of your choice, because you want to be a Christian, and then this is the consequence, and suffering is part of being a follower of Jesus.
Are suffering from all the Christians.
That's true. That's true. That's happening in all areas where you have diversity in churches. To accept each other is not easy. Somehow. But even then, it's because of your choice. You want to be a Christian in a certain way. You say no, Foka.
No, but I will discuss it all the time.
Okay. It happens to you.
Yes, but not. We didn't marginalize her.
You're not.
We are not.
Yeah.
Other people did.
Other people do.
Because I'm a fashionable, and
Yeah.
it's not my choice to be a woman.
But that's another
But it's
point.
your choice to be a pastor. Yeah. So you have to suffer.
Yeah. He wants to be a righteous.
But when we talk about social exclusion, that's because of what is your social life, who you are, your ethnicity, and so on. This is somehow let us say a bit different from exclusion because of faith. Yeah? The Christians in Muslim world are always excluded, also by their family. There's a very severe type of exclusion and persecution that happens everywhere, because of faith. But what we are talking about is more about the social aspects of it. Yeah? Okay. There may be issues left over, but that comes later. First, we have a break.
Yes.
And then we start on the next phase about the case studies. You can bring everything.
Внимавайте, за бебенца разкарват. Той тебе ли те разкарват? Зависи от прекаляваш, ще разкарват. Той със всяко нищо те разкарва като се
You're part of the system. You are marginalized. Yeah? In many areas in the world, it's not easy to become a Christian or live a Christian life. Yeah? So religion is anyway a reason for being marginalized. So that example we can take easily with us.
But also what I'm hearing say, in the church, there are also practices of exclusion. Yeah? I think that's also what we want to say, that sometimes within the church, we are sinful. I think we started right in the earlier on that even in the church we are not holy people, and sometimes in the church there is also a type of exclusion by our way of living. I think that's something you wanted to share. Yeah,
that's true. Okay, talking about reasons for exclusions, the second part of the afternoon, we want to discuss first of all what the reasons and impact are, as you have seen in your case studies. We come to them now. Yeah? I think it's good to have 3 examples that you want to share, and we discuss what the reasons and the process of exclusion is in this case study, and what the impact is in this particular situation. So we focus on the reality and try to see how exclusion works. After that, we will go into small groups and discuss how churches are different from that, or how do you find in your churches the same processes of exclusion too. So, first of all, looking around you, and not in general speaking about certain groups, but do you have particular specific cases in your mind where you see people are excluded in your own neighborhood, in the environment, not the church, but in society. And these particular cases, we want to discuss a bit and discover how exclusion works in your area, what the main reasons are. Now, we start with 3 and then we add other things from other case studies as well. So my first question is, you all received the question whether you are able to make a case study. And I want to ask you who want to volunteer and tell us what your case is. And then we discuss a bit more in depth the process in that case study. Who wants to? Okay, Ivo. You can come in front and tell them, or from there? Okay. Thank you very much. You get the microphone.
Човека, за когото ще говоря, се казва Слави, но преди това е бил Сулейман.
But before that he was Suleiman. Changed religions.
И сега хората от неговия етнос, ромски, го наричат така.
The people from his ethnic group, Roma,
Името, преди да е било сменено с българско, показва, че той е турско говорящ ром.
so that he is a Turkish speaking Roma. Suleiman, that means
Той е
he was
около,
a Turkish speaking Roma.
около 50 годишен.
He is 50 years
Много слабо е образован.
not very
Може би
well
дори е
educated,
неграмотен, не съм сигурен.
illiterate almost.
В миналото той е живял с майка си, но тя е починала,
She passed away.
след което поради здравословни проблеми е загубил работата си, а след това и дома си.
He was ill, he lost his job
И дома си.
and his home.
И в момента живее в един полуразрушен гараж зад нашата църква в
He was
Лясковец.
in a semi-demolished garage behind the church.
Получава храна от социалната служба
He
към
received-
общината.
He received food from the social service, the community social service.
Аз познавам хора, които са му предлагали и работа, и
I
жилище,
know people that
но всеки
offered
път
him
след
work
кратко
and-
време той се е отказвал и от двете.
but after a while he refused. He just quit it.
Събира вторични суровини
He gathers
или пък от време на време някой го
or
наема
glass
за
or
някаква еднократна, еднодневна работа.
reusing.
В резултат на всичко това Слави живее в крайна бедност
Slav is very
и единствените му трайни социални контакти са с други бездомници като него.
and his contacts are with other homeless people like him.
И изглежда, че няма никаква перспектива положението му
It
да
seems
се
like there
промени
is no
към по-добро.
Hope for him, no perspective in front of him.
Факторите, които според мен са довели до
I
изключването
think
на този
the
човек
factor
са ниското образование,
exclusion is education, lack of education,
капсулирането в социална среда на себеподобни.
he is in extremely the contacts are extremely with homeless people,
И
encapsulated in
също обществените предразсъдъци към
and also the
ромската общност.
prejudices of the society towards Roma group. Roma people.
Социалните работници от община Лясковец,
The social workers
както и здравния медиатор,
from the community
която е член на нашата църква,
and also the health worker who is
са се
actually a member
опитвали
of the church.
многократно да му окажат помощ,
They tried to help him many times.
но мисля, че във всички случаи това е било свързано с
In
преодоляване на последствията от някакви конкретни
overcoming the
проблеми, но
results of certain problems.
винаги след като той си е разрешавал конкретния проблем, той е оставал в същия
particular
порочен
problem
кръг.
was solved, he was coming back to the same narrative and to the same reality.
Мисля, че промяната в живота му би била възможна само ако по някакъв начин той промени начина си на мислене
Only possible if he changes
и
his
осъзнае и
and realize
пожелае тази
and
промяна.
want
Но дори и тогава една трайна положителна трансформация ми се вижда много трудна.
But even then, I see this transformation very difficult.
Thank you for sharing. So what's for you? You started with mentioning his religious change. Do you think religion or his change in religion is one of the major factors that set in motion all those things?
Когато говори за смяната на името, имаш ли предвид смяна на религията?
Той е имал това име, защото е бил турско говорящ ром. Да, заради възродителния процес, ама не мисля, че това има нещо общо с религията.
Аз ги подведох. I misled you. There was a process in Bulgaria with I think in the end of the communism or during communism, at the end of the communism, changing names of all the Turkish names to be changed to the Bulgarian ones. This was not
religious.
Not religious. Not at all. Sorry, I was not right.
So his name was changed, but that happened to all of those people.
Той не е бил религиозен и така че...
He was not. He was not religious.
Yeah. So what is for you the main reason he came into this position when you look at what happened?
Ами, как аз споменах факторите, които според мен са повлияли, това, че той е бил, социалните му контакти са били само в тази общност на хората, които са като него и нямало стимули за образование, нямало стимули за изобщо за социално включване. И по принцип в обществото има предразсъдъци към тази общност и хората няма достатъчно усилия за тяхната интеграция. Или поне не са добре организирани и систематични.
When you look at the process of people who are becoming more and more isolated, that's what you're talking about. Already mentioned in our discussion about the game of life, that has something to do with the person. There are reasons inside the person. Many people who are homeless do have psychological problems or psychiatric problems. So they are unable to discipline themselves, for instance. A lot of problems can be in that area, personal problems.
Аз говорих за неговото ниво на образование, че е ниско, но аз бих казал, че същото се отнася и за неговата способност да влиза в контакти с хората, да води социален живот на много ниско ниво.
Димитър?
Аз искам само да допълня това, което каза брата. Значи имам едно такова наблюдение в затвора, където ходя и в двете църкви, където служа. Предната седмица дойде едно момче, което е българин, с висше образование, инженер. И ми направи впечатление, че той не е ром, който да няма достъп той има пълната свобода, няма ограничения, но ми направи впечатление, че този инженер имаше повече предразсъдъци, отколкото един обикновен ром от някое гето. И това грабна моето внимание и след това, като размишлявах да разбера каква е причината, разбрах, че той нямаше общение с абсолютно никой. Той беше като вълк единак. И това, което казва и брата, това общение е голям бич. Голям бич. Няма значение дали е ром, дали е социално слаб, дали е инвалид. Това, което изиграхме от 9-4-те картини. И бих казал даже и не толкова образованието. Защото човек, когато живее сам и не общува с никого, вероятността да чуе за Исус е нула.
When you're alone, you will not be able to hear about Jesus.
И съответно общението помага за една интеграция.
And communication between people helps for integration.
И средата най-вече. Да. Това е, което мога да кажа.
Like when we are talking about, I think we come to the issue about what makes people marginalized. In the past, and it's very easy to see factors in the person himself. And so you may say there are reasons why people are not moving forward, living a good life, or getting on the margin, that they are has to do with who they are. Sometimes in the past they were giving that was a reason to blame them. So they were not doing good enough, or we have also had a period in the history thinking about exclusion that people say, okay, people who are in the margin, they are sick or should be helped. They have to change in a way that they become normal people. So then marginalized is something that's a personal thing. And those aspects are mentioned by you as well. The question is also whether there are, and you are mentioning, thinking the same thing, are there also social aspects? And then you call, you say the social elements, like what people think about you, prejudices. Because the way people, the environment is looking to you also determines in a high regard how many possibilities you have in society, what you can do and can't do. So what is possible and what is impossible. For certain, and when you come on this issue of the social, it's many cases, you must say, there's also a question about power. When the society is organized in a way, in such a way that you get excluded, there may be an important point, maybe the power structure in society, who is determining what is your opportunity, what's not. And sometimes it's in a society very strong. I lived for 10 years in South Africa. Now, we all remember, I think, the time the word apartheid, that black people were not allowed to participate in society. It has nothing to do in the first place with who they were. They may be brilliant, but it doesn't open doors. I remember just an example. There was a pastor, a black pastor in our neighborhood who spoke more than 8 languages. I think it was 8 languages. He was very well educated, had a doctorate in theology. He was getting petrol at a petrol station, and the white guy, not having any education, called him boy. So you're just like a gardener, you're nothing for me. So in a society, exclusion can have a very structural, power-based element. Some people are not allowed, and it's not about their ability, but about power. And do you think in your example, is there something like that? Is there a structure in society that makes it impossible for him to move, to become part?
Не знам, по принцип, да, българското общество не бих казал, че има толкова строго разделение на социални групи, не е класово общество. Но от друга страна, както казах, нали, предразсъдъците спрямо ромската общност са големи и това е въпрос на наистина на обществото. И зависи от нали, промяната зависи не само от самите хора, които са жертва на такова изключване, но и въпрос на, ако щете, на целенасочена политика на държавата. Да. Такива политики държавата се е опитвала да провежда, но неуспешно. До сега. Например, се сещам за нещо, което се наричаше десетилетия на ромското включване. По време на което се усвоиха много фондове, финансови фондове. Но резултатите са почти нула.
Okay, yeah, there may be financial reasons, political reasons why sometimes people are excluded. I just give you an example from the Netherlands where you see the same. Sometimes migrant workers, they earn so less and they are in a way employed by many farmers in the Netherlands or by businesses. And by law, the government should prevent exploitation. But even now, in the last week, certain laws against exploitation were withdrawn so that people can still go on in that same practice. Because there's financial reasons behind things. So there can many political, economical reasons in society why people are excluded. And power reasons can be there. Yes, that should be mentioned. Apart from social, when it comes to power and economics, maybe it's good to have one second example and see what else we can find apart from prejudices, from personal reasons, and maybe that issue of power, see what other aspects are there that are creating people, marginalized people as well, have an influence on that. Who wants to share? Yes?
Може ли само нещо още да добавя, за което сега се сетих? Мисля, че има значение за тези политически програми и проекти за интеграция на ромите, хората, които трябва да ги осъществят, всъщност го правят за да усвоят парите и не толкова с убеждение, че трябва да интегрират ромите, защото те имат нужда от... Те са спокойни с хора, които са в гетото и които лесно се контролират и които могат лесно да бъдат мотивирани да гласуват за тях.
So what you mentioned again stresses there is more politics behind marginalization and more power than you maybe think in the first time. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yes, Vlado.
I'd like to speak about something similar. which is connected with our churches. Family, believers, 50 in their 50s. Bulgarians, good social, active Christians. The situation is that they create a conflict with another person in ministry. And this creates tension. And even there is a danger of splitting the church. And other people are involved in this conflict. When we learn about the conflict, we try to get information and to understand what happened. And we understood that this conflict is half a year long, but not developed that much. And we gave everyone the microphone to, but they did not logically explain why this is like that. And the
vision.
Vision of обвинение. Oh, the blame is that their religious feelings were hurt. But they didn't give any proof. They said that they will leave the ministry. Even though my message was of reconciliation, because this is the Christian way. This meeting failed. His family stepped back from ministry. And then this family felt way isolated. The truth was that they isolated themselves. And they were offended that no one took their side. I think that they were unbiased. And we tried to bring them back. The factors of isolation is the religious prejudice. Because of the wrong understanding of the role of the Holy Spirit and his leadership. They thought that God spoke to them and they could make a dictatorship over the others sometime. Another factor is this family to dominate in the ministries. You know that when there is no humble spirits, there is always possibility of bad things. I hope that one day they will understand the call of Jesus, who wants to be first, who wants to be a servant or she. The results are there is no success. They are still offended and bitter. And I pray for them to serve God with their talents. And my recommendation is to show love and show help, give help to the people with a huge ego. Some want to.
But do you think this is a case of conflict, like any conflict in a family or in a community can be? Or why do you talk about marginalization and exclusion here?
маргинализирана група и за изключване на маргинализираната група. Те се изключиха от служението. Because they took themselves
out of the community. Yeah. They left the community out of choice. Yeah.
Напуснали ли са църквата или не? They did not leave the church, but only the ministry.
Okay. Yeah. I think that there are a lot of reasons why in a community are splits or conflicts. People are opposing each other. When you talk about exclusion as a social process, that you are no longer allowed to participate in the community, you don't have access to the normal or the things the community has, then you are socially excluded. You are not able to go to school. You are not getting the same services. You are not able to acquire social assistance or support. Then you are outside of the community. And that's why we are talking about in the case of homeless. And for instance, people who are belonging to an ethnic minority, that because of prejudices or the way the society is organized, people are not or not allowed or not supported to get access to the life of the community as a whole. So I would say that's more like an internal conflict in the community. People do still belong. But that should be my reaction on your case. Yeah.
They are part of the community, but they are working
against
within.
Within it. Yeah. And that's
the unity is.
Yeah, the unity is broken. I don't deny it's an important problem, but it's somehow a different problem from exclusion. It is an internal conflict in the community, and that should be solved. I agree with that. But when it comes to exclusion and marginalization, you see people are not able to participate in the community as a whole because there are a lot of boundaries in the community that prevent them from being part of it. Like in the game, people are not easy to get to follow, go to school or finish their education or get a job. That is because the society is organized in such a way that you are prevented to do that. And that you are prevented, we have two main reasons. It's personal, that's very important. That's because people have problems. That's why they are outside. And there's another area that's inside society, and that has to do sometimes with laws, with institution, with power, with prejudices, ideas that may prevent you. Let me give an example on that too. In Holland, there's a lot of these issues too. If you want to have a job and you are applying for a job and your name is Mohammed, then everybody knows, okay, he is from Arabia, we don't give him the job. So there's discrimination. You are not able to get a job because your name, you are. And that I heard an example this morning or yesterday too from here. That is happening. So then you are not, it's not a conflict in the group, but you are separated from the group. That's exclusion. You're not allowed or not able to participate, to being fully part of the community. Yeah. And that can be as a group and as a person. Yeah. So the main. So maybe is that clear? Maybe I don't know if other people think different from that. But this is exactly a point inside the group. Conflict. Yeah. They are everywhere. Let's be honest. Yeah. Is another one who want to share? Yeah. Krasmir?
Maybe it will be a continuation of what Vladimir shared. My cases are short. And I'll share about exclusion of a person or self-exclusion. 3 years old, married, 43. This person was proposed for a member of the church council. Because he was member of the church council, he got proud and he began to speak more about the pride is very important part of this story. He wants to have power over the others before he self-exclusion. He became physical with certain members of the church. Physical. I think the reasons are connected with his character. He likes power, he's proud, and he is aggressive. And the action which we spoke with him and we tried to correct his behavior, but unsuccessfully. The recommendations were ineffective because the person didn't want it to change, and he is the same until today. And I will share a case of inclusivity for a man with a family. This man was deceived by another group, and he was convinced to leave the church. And for the last 2 years, he understood his mistake and came back to the church. He repented and he asked to be accepted again. And this is about inclusivity. And this is a good lesson of true change, at least for now. This man never created problems for example, like the previous case. And his decision to leave the church was because he was deceived by other people. I spoke with him and he accepted what we spoke about, and he is faithful to the church. He was not thinking straight, and he was deceived by the influence of other people. And we discussed the actions and the results of those actions. And then he showed sincere desire to change. And it was recommended for him to become more active in the church and to take more tasks which are according to the gifts that he has. And he wants to serve the Lord. And he was accepted with joy in the church.
Thank you. But again, I think that the problem you are describing is again a conflict of a person in the church. He is not excluded because of social or whatever reasons, but it's more like a conflict, a split. And then you give examples of people who are reunited. I think maybe to clarify a bit, can we get to the next slide? Yeah, maybe. Second. Oh yeah. The whole concept of exclusion and inclusion are very important terms to describe the way a society is functioning. It's about, first of all, let us look at the society, not the church. When you exclusion means that everyone who is different, for instance, in Bulgaria, because he is from a certain ethnic group, of a certain culture, or he is disabled, or he is psychologically disturbed and cannot function on a normal way and lives on the street, that those people are pushed outside the regular society. Yeah? So you exclude those who are different. And they may be different for some different reasons. Yeah? They live, let me give the example of South Africa. They live separated. All not whites are not allowed to live in the white city in the past. So you are separating. People are pushed out. That's exclusion. Yeah? The opposite of exclusion is then inclusion. That means that people, whoever they are allowed to participate in society. Let me give an example. School. You can have a school in the village. If you have, you may exclude certain people, and then I come later. Then they are not part of the school. They're not going there. Yeah? Like certain minorities. This is, I don't know how it works here, but maybe it's a Bulgarian-speaking school. So you are Turkish-speaking, you are excluded. Sometimes formally you're not allowed to do that, to participate. And sometimes not officially, but because of that barrier, you are not going there. Yeah? You don't want to be there because you are different. So exclusion is about being different in ethnicity, religion, color, culture, language, social position, whatever reasons there may be, that you are not part of the community. Now, the whole key is the word participation. Are you allowed or participating in the community or not? Are you excluded from the community formally by law, institutional, sometimes because of the prejudices, sometimes of the difficulties, the costs, whatever reasons there may be, you are not part of the community. When you look at your own context, I think you recognize this. People are not part of the community, they have their own world outside. What they call segregation, that's maybe nice to explain it, is that people who are different from a certain ethnicity, they have their own schools or their own system, their own village. They don't live together, but they live separately. And there they should stay. It's very difficult for them in that neighborhood to live, to change to the other neighborhood. Exclusion means you have clear lines in society that make people who are different stay outside the rest of the community. That's, I think, the important point. It's not about conflict. Conflict may be here as well. Conflict can be here in that separate group. I think every village has its own conflicts and discussions. But in essence, the whole idea of exclusion means people not allowed to be part of the normal, available way of life for the majority. No? And there are reasons, we say. Sometimes there are personal reasons. People individually are not able to do that. People can be socially, that's an ethnic group. Just let us say that as a other thing, ethnic, language, culture, religion. There may also always be reasons why people are not able or not allowed to participate in the community. Yeah? And that's the issue that we are talking about. Exclusion, pushing people away, formally or by. And the very interesting thing is, and that's what maybe you should think a little bit about it. It's not, how does it work when you have prejudices? How are they excluding people? What is happening when you? What are those prejudices that you may have? How is that working that then people are excluded by this? You can. Let us go a bit deeper. What happens when you are looked upon in a certain way? What's happening to you? When you are from a certain neglected minority, that's an idea people have. You are bad, you are not trustworthy. What is it? What happens when you are confronted with certain ideas in society? What happens to you?
Maybe there is fear that if we allow these people to come in our society, they will ruin the comfort.
On the side of the community, the majority community, here inside, there may be fear. Because they don't trust people who are different. What ideas of what feelings or processes can be inside that community, that majority community, looking to those who are different? You fear them? You fear maybe you are afraid of trouble? You don't understand the language they speak? Like in the Netherlands, they know what they say, I don't feel at home in my own country because around me people speak Arabic or English. So you feel no longer at home. That are reasons inside people that cause them to this what is strange or different, to keep it away. Fear, anxiety, fear for trouble. Other things that may, what do they feel, those people who are in the center? What do they feel about those who are in the margins?
Exactly. What do the people in the margins feel?
No. What do the people in the center, those people feel? Why they exclude people? Why do they do that?
I think that we have to, right now, to make a very big difference to help my colleagues understand what's going on between exclusion или изключване and excommunication и отлъчване. One of them is about how we are treating people based on objective differences. And the other is how we are treating people based on differences of opinion and differences in their behavior against particular doctrinal or ethical standards in a particular community like Christian.
Yeah.
In the last case, we are talking about excommunication or self-excommunication of some people because of disagreement.
Yeah.
And when we are talking about exclusion, it's about, objective differences. Yeah, these objective differences can cause prejudices and subjective differences in different types of persons and so on and so on. But it's completely different.
Yeah.
From one side, we have objective differences. From other side, we have differences in opinion.
Yes.
Completely subjective. So we now are not talking about what we are doing in our own congregations with people who are making troubles of different kind, because they have different opinions on matters of belief or strange hectic behaviors because they disagree with our ethical standards. I think the cases that we heard about, it's about that.
Yeah, exactly.
And now we are talking about completely different things. How we treating people with different, coming from different ethnical minorities, people with disabilities, people who are different from us, but the differences are all objective.
And not about opinion, yeah.
It's not about
culture, about...
We can have a lot of different opinions. It's not about opinions. When it comes to opinions, it's a different thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Is this? I think that point must be clear, because otherwise we are talking about two different things at the same time.
When you talk with clerics,
yeah,
they're talking all about church. That's clear. Everything and the whole world is church.
Yes.
Another clarification, maybe when we speak about community or society, we are talking about the whole society, not only the church.
Not only the church. No, not the church.
When we think about society or the community, we tend to think only for the church.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
church society, church community.
Yeah.
Think about your village or your small city, the neighborhood you are living in. What is happening there? And why are some people not participating fully, but on the sideline of society, of the community? Yeah. Thank you very much. That's the clarity we need. Yeah. So, and then we said that the reason people are getting excluded is because they are different. And when people are different, it causes fear, anxiety, uncertainty. What are they doing? What is their behavior? Can I trust them? I don't understand them. I don't understand their ways they are doing. So there's a lot of things happening in people why they keep other people a bit at the sideline. And sometimes even formally. But most of the time more by rejection. That's what happens. Is that point now? Have we get it clear? Okay. Another question is, and I would like to focus a bit on that, and then we go to the groups. What is the impact? Just try to imagine. What is the impact on people who are sidelined, are rejected in your society? What does it do? What is that doing with them? What for feelings do you expect in those people who are not accepted fully, but are looked down upon? What is happening to them?
They are isolated. They feel isolated.
They feel isolated. Can you describe what does it mean for you when you feel isolated?
А можеш ли да кажеш малко повече? Какво според теб означава, че се чувстват или че са изолирани?
Поради това, че понякога се получават различия от техните мисли.
It's
И не могат да намерят общ език.
Their thoughts and there are differences in their thoughts that they cannot find common language.
Може да бъде по религиозни въпроси, по политически въпроси, по икономически статус. И тогава просто, де се каза, не могат да мелят заедно.
Isolation. Yeah.
Има една група хора, в която трима от нас работят с тях, които са споделяли с нас своите проблеми. Това са всъщност бившите затворници. Тези, които са имали дълги присъди, излежали са си присъдите, излизат и трябва да се връщат по своите родни места, и особено малките населени места, като малките села, където всички ги познават. Има случаи, не толкова много, но аз знам поне за 3, в който самия затворник дойде, един от тях дойде и ми каза: не знам как ще се прибера в селото, защото кмета е казал на моите роднини да не се връщам въобще там. Аз нямам къде другаде да отида.
I think it's a very, very tragic situation.
Имало е случаи, когато те идват в църквата. Преди години ние сме им помагали много, но те не са имали търпението да докажат доверието. Всички ги знаят, че са затворници, всички странят от тях. Страняли са. Тогава страняха от тях. И те се чувстваха така, чувстваха се отхвърляни. Някои от тях направиха всичко възможно, за да спечелят доверието. Но някои не го направиха. Те искаха просто се продължат по същия. Така че тая група е една от тези групи, защото когато те излязат от затвора и отидат да се търсят работа, собственика, когато разбере, че те са лежали в затвора, особено за кражба, те не ги вземат. В България няма такава организация, поне в този момент. В миналото, когато беше стария режим, имаше заводи, които вземаха точно такива хора. Бяха задължени да отидат и да си намерят работа. И тези големи заводи им осигуряваха работа, приемаха такива хора на работа. И по този начин те се интегрираха в обществото. Някои от тях станаха много добри работници. Но днес не е така. Днес държавата няма такава програма, с която да помага на затворници да им намери работа. Това е оставено на различни малки социални групи и обикновено църквите, но ние също поради определени причини, било то финансово или нежелание да го правим, всъщност също не го правим.
Thank you for sharing. Yeah. I think it's a very nice example for people who are excluded in the society and easily to understand the feelings from their side. That feeling of rejection, that not getting opportunities, anger. You have served your time, you have done your thing, and then you are punished again and again by not getting a job, not being accepted in the community. Yeah, that's something that is a very deep thing for people. feeling rejected, isolated, rejected. Anger may come up. A lot of anger in minority groups that want to bring justice by action. A lot of feelings of despair but also of anger occur when people are not seen and not accepted. Nurses?
Според мен тези, които са изключени, можем да разделим на две групи. Едните, които остават изключени и се примиряват с своя статут, а другата група, която размишлява върху ситуацията, върху себе си, върху причините, заради който е бил изключен и полага усилия отново да бъде включен. При някой може да са много по-трудни, при някой да е по-лесно, но
how people react on isolation, how people react on rejection can be different. Yes, that's true. There are maybe a wide variety of ways people deal with that situation. But the point of rejection, of exclusion, is that they are excluded by the way we organize things or the way we think about people. So you should also stress that point. Not only make them responsible, but first of all, it's something that happens to them. Yeah. The Katjo? Yeah. And then we go to the church. Yeah, they have.
Ами от моята гледна точка гледам първия кръг на картинката там и приемам, че зелените точки в кръга сме християните и всички други отвън. Да. И... И си мисля, само да завърша мисълта.
Is the majority culture where you live in. And the people outside are the people who are not being part of that community of the society.
Мисълта ми е, че
Keep in mind what Daniel said.
Първо, което като приема тези различните точки за нехристияните, първо дали мога да направя нещо тези точки да влязат в този кръг при християните. И тези различните точки, които влязат вече при християните, тях вече може да се работи, за да знаят.
First of all, we talk about society. And we try to understand that we live in a world in which people are sometimes by law or by culture, by tradition, by ideas, separated and not fully participating in that society. Their chances for their children to go to school are not good. Not because they are not clever enough, but they live in a certain neighborhood, they have a certain name, they have a certain culture, and the society is not fully open for that, for those people. That is exclusion. And that's happening everywhere in the world. Don't think that's only something of Bulgaria. It's happening everywhere. Majority or dominant cultures tend to exclude people who are different. And not only because people are culturally different, sometimes religious reasons, but also people with disabilities are not always fully integrated in society. And maybe it's good to give that example too. In Holland, in the Netherlands, they say it's about 10% of the people who can't write. But when you want to apply for a social service, you have to complete a form. Now, the people who need it most are not able to complete forms. So they are not getting access to that services because the way we are functioning excludes them by the requirements we have. So in order to get a social security pension, you have to have an address. When you are homeless, you don't have an address. So the system makes that people are not always really able to get what they need, and that's the structure of society. That's how we exclude people. They are not part. Yeah.
Ние си говорихме с Даниел, че горе-долу нашите църкви са построени така, че хората с недъзи, с увреждания да не могат да стигнат до църковните ни салони, до богослужебните ни зали. И може би аз го виждам и в София, макар че първите стъпала са малко, все пак са достатъчно така, че да не могат хората да влязат в бъдата богослужение.
Аз го виждам.
Имаме асансьор, който работи, ама трябва да се достъпи до този асансьор и да има хора, които да помогнат на тези увреждания да стигнат до там. Една от най-посветените членове на църквата, Виолета Неделчева, докато царство и небесно вече, докато беше жива, докато можеше, тя идваше на крака, когато вече не можеше да идва, започна да идва с инвалидната количка и беше голямо предизвикателство. Асансьорът е малък, да вкараме хора, да успеем да я вкараме в този асансьор, за да дойде на богослужение. Аз бях може би единственият човек, който знаеше точно как да намести количката, за да може все пак да dojde на богослужение.
De bereikbaarheid van onze kerk, waar ik ook al vertelde, dat je eerst 10 trappen op moet als gehandicapt of met je rolstoel om in de kerk te komen en dat onze lift het halverwege de verdieping. Dus om in de lift te komen moet je eerst een trap op.
Yeah, so that's a requirement. Yeah.
Даже няма какво да го коментирам. Тук е една крещящо изявление. Не пристъпайте, защото не ви искам.
Sometimes our church are screaming, we don't want them, don't come. Use the church for
Аз съм съгласен с тебе, защото ти крил да хване човек да се издърпа. Докато при мен няма и търси някой да ми направи.
Не, Венци, щом търсиш...
Да храним да така и бенги.
Важното, че
нямаш достатъчно вяра, за това не си намерил. А тук каквото има да се дърпа, той да приема с върху да трябва паника му носи. Е на всеки човек.
Добре, през задния ход е лесно да влезе. Те казват, защо трябва да вляза през задния ход? Аз по-добри човек ли съм?
There is the back door in the back of the church, which is better coming in the thrones.
Okay, wait. We will discuss church right now. Okay. We are still getting sharp what we mean with exclusion. There's one thing Tim rightly mentioned to me, is the concept of self-exclusion. And many times I have heard people, they saying, people are excluding themselves. Can we just take a few minutes? That's the thing. Why on earth should you exclude yourself?
Because of rejection. Constant and systematic rejection.
That's why. People are sometimes people are unable because of psychiatric problems. So they feel a total lack of self-confidence. What we call self-rejection is most of the time, I don't say always, but is internalized rejection. You have been rejected so many times. What can you do? So you withdraw yourself in order to prevent yourself from getting hurt or neglected again. Can you give an example of that, Vladimir? You have seen, you are so outspoken on that point.
I can talk of myself when I for example, I can remember the first time when I entered it was another church, not ours. Here I was accepted, but anyway, I was in another church before I became Methodist, and it was very hard to integrate. I wanted to integrate. I wanted to include. In that church, there was this culture of exclusion. You have to meet certain criteria to be in the inner circle. And I had to fight for my inclusion by any means, because otherwise I have to go back into the world where I came from. I did not want that. So it was very hard for me. We started, for example, small groups in the church, and I was not invited there. And I self-invited myself, and then I had to struggle to stay there because I still felt this rejection.
Yeah. So I think that's a very important point, that when we use the word self rejection or self exclusion, that we must be careful, because sometimes it is the end result of a long period of life in which you have experienced things. Yeah? That is, and it is not always something you want, but you do because you are afraid. For instance, when you are homeless, when you start to be part of the help system, you have to change, because you have to live in a house, you have to take care of yourself, you have to go for a job. You have tried already so many times and failed. And again. So it is that fear of failing, the fear of rejection, the lack of self-confidence, that sometimes people are kept in that circle. And that we call self-rejection. Yeah. So I think it's a good point to stress at this point of time. Do you recognize this, or do you say, yeah, but?
Yeah, there is always that. Because there are people, homeless people, that they are consciously, they don't want to be included anyway. Anymore or anyway. Anymore and anyway. Yeah. There are people like that. They simply don't care about the social order, but the social order cannot change endlessly, because all people who want a special way to enter it, because the social order is how to say, a sort of via media. It cannot be individualized endlessly. So you have to meet certain standards, and these standards cannot be changed all the time for every individual. So, but there are people who don't want to meet any type of standard. They said, okay, I prefer to sleep outside in the cold, but I don't want to really to follow any type of order. Yeah. I am boss of myself. I am ready to suffer. I'm ready to, but don't tell me not to drink. Don't tell me to go and wash myself and to go and take that job, because I don't want to have a boss. I'm boss of myself. Yeah. In this type of thinking, there are psychological and even psychiatric elements. I know that we are all not so normal. We have to say, normality self is a very fluent category.
The way of if we are able to meet the requirements of society, that's different from people to person. Yes, that's true. Yeah.
Even if you help this person to meet, he said, I'm not interested.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not interested. I'm okay. I said, oh, you okay to live in the cold during the winter? He said, I'm not interested to go in your direction.
Yeah. I would say maybe, but we have to talk with them in order to find out how different people can be. But most of the time, behind the unwillingness of people is the inability. They are not able to do that.
Sometimes laziness.
Yeah. Maybe.
Because I'm talking with a particular person in mind.
Yeah.
He can do a lot of things very well. He can really maneuver in the living circumstances in an excellent way. They simply don't want to do it.
Yeah.
They don't want, because all the time church is close to help. And in this case, we are not helping.
Yes.
We are simply pushing him to live this way of living, which is, I don't know.
But maybe to summarize, when we look at exclusion, and especially the issue of exclusion, we cannot simply start with thinking that is their own fault. Sometimes it is the result of many things that happened in the past. They are made the way they are. Sometimes it has to do with psychological problems people have, or even psychiatric problems. And so on. They are unable psychologically. Sometimes maybe there's also a point of free choice. People are not willing to follow the mainstream and are going their own way. But don't start thinking on beforehand that people are like that. Yeah? There are many people, self-stigma, what we call it, self-stigmatization, self-exclusion is a tremendous problem among excluded people. Yeah? They have internalized the pressure from outside in their hearts. And they feel unworthy and incapable, so not self-confident to do things. And so we have to recognize that too. Let me say that as a point.
Аз сега като разсъждавах, никъде в Евангелието не се сещам Христос някъде да е дал пари, изцеляваше, за да имат възможност сами да изкарат парите. Тоест отново се връщаме на това, че има една група, който иска да бъде изключен. Има една група, който прави всичко възможно отново да се върне в кръга. И ние трябва да работим с онези, които имат това желание, защото ние предлагаме начин да бъдат пълноценно част от кръга.
We come to the point of what we can do for those people who are really marginalized or are unwilling or incapable. That will be an issue tomorrow afternoon. So we will come to that. What is the biblical idea and what can we do? And maybe we can do something without money. So that will come later. For now, I want to stop the discussion about exclusion in general. And we have to make small groups. We do have an hour for that, I think. And you have also made cases about the church. But look at those cases who are talking about exclusion of people socially, not because of conflict in the church, but really exclusion. And the main question is the situation, when you look at how we deal with people with minorities, how do we deal with people with disabilities? How do we feel with other people who are excluded, like those former prisoners? Whatever groups you may have in mind of people that are excluded in society, is the situation in the church different? And why? And the second question I want to give to you is, do you see types or forms, mild or severe, exclusion inside the church? Do you experience that? Do you have examples? Yeah? And then, okay, what is the reason? And why do we accept that? Yeah? So, 3 questions. We make small groups and try to answer it. I give the flip overs. Is it possible? Yeah? To put it on paper. The first question is the church different? And why? Second question is, do you see processes of exclusion in the church as well? And what are the reasons for exclusion inside the church? And the justification. Why do you accept that? So just discussing with each other and see what comes out of that. Not in society, but now we focus on your own congregation. Is it different? That's the first. Why? Are there still elements of exclusion? How do you deal with post people who are different? And why do you do? Is that accepted? I think that are the main questions for the afternoon now. Yeah?
How many small groups?
How do we manage? How many groups can we do?
We have 15 people.
Do you think 5 people in a group or 4?
5 is okay.
5 is okay?
Yes.
3 groups. Do I count? What do you think? Is that a good idea?
Yes. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3.
I excluded myself.
Okay. 1. Okay, yeah, because we want to give you the... Okay. No, then we count to 5, huh? 3 groups. Oh, no, 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
1, 2. I go 3. Dimitov. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Group 1 can take the whole or the other room here. Children's room.
Yes.
Okay.
Втора група, кои сте, бе? Втора група, заповядайте.
Витко е първа, Маргота е втора.
Колко време има?
In society, you may see a lot of exclusion of certain people, groups of people, certain people who are different or whatever reasons, people are excluded for who they are, not able to participate in society fully. We also talked about the concept of self-exclusion, internalized exclusion, sometimes also to do with choices people make. This is happening around us. And somehow already in our discussion comes the question, is this different in our churches? Or not? Do we see the same processes in the church, in the congregation, or not? So, you have been discussing this quite at length, 1 hour, so maybe you find some idea, you can share some ideas. One of the groups put it here on paper. I don't, this was, unable to read it, but who is going to present a bit? Who was? This is
Vladimir will come.
Okay.
Present it, or I can start.
Okay. Oh, there he is. There he is. We are waiting. No, no, no. We're just asking you to present a bit what you think about exclusion and the church. Oh, you can use mine.
Добре, ние говорихме за изключването в това, че в църквата, като следствие от греха на човека и макар и в по-малка степен, изключването си го има и в църквата по една или друга причина. Най-често причината може да бъде поради етнически причини. Колкото и да не искаме да го признаем, тези бариери съществуват в нашето общество. Дори и в църквата, където няма юдеи, няма грък, но в крайна сметка греха продължава да поддържа в по-малка или по-голяма степен тези етнически бариери. И тази дискриминация ще бъде напълно премахната при идването на нашия Господ. Това ще бъде ултимативното. Това е, което разговаряхме. Също така говорихме, че това изключване, това разделение, това противопоставяне ще продължава в обществото и ще се задълбочава до края на времената. Защото това вече аз го добавям. В крайна сметка Господ го е пророкувал, че последните дни етнос срещу етнос ще се изправя. Така че тези противопоставяния на етнически принцип ще ги има до края на този свят. И последно, ние говорихме за много неща, но съвсем кратко като едно обобщение, че ние като методистка църква сме също изключени по законов признак, защото в конституционно не сме включени като традиционно изповедание, но понякога в обществото също сме изключени поради това, че не принадлежим към традиционната православна църква. Това го добавям от себе си. Понякога сме изключени дори и от останалите протестантски църкви, защото в някои отношения богословски се приближаваме повече към православната църква, отколкото към евангелските християни в най-общ смисъл. Така че ние като методисти сме до голяма степен представители на това маргинализирано общество. И също се борим с следствията от това отхвърляне от обществото, което е следствие на греха. Което прави задачата ни, може би, една идея малко по-трудна, отколкото ако бяхме в страна, която е предимно протестантска и където протестантската вяра се приема по-нормално, както, например, е да кажем, в САЩ или вероятно в Холандия, не знам, в Нидерландия. Това е накратко, не искам да взимам повече време.
Okay, thank you so much. If I summarize, then you say, okay, as a Methodist church, we are in a certain extent a marginalized group in society. And it has consequences for what you can do and how you can operate. Yeah? That's for sure. Yeah? So, but also you say, okay, even by being marginalized, we have a certain special calling.
Yeah.
Because we know what it means to be marginalized. So we should have a certain sensitivity, is that the right word? For people who are marginalized. Because we ourselves are. Yeah? And then you say, okay, if I'm correct, and that's make sure for my understanding, that even so, that our marginalization should have an open eye. Still, also in our communities, we find forms of exclusion.
Yeah.
And you gave the example of ethnicity.
Yeah, this is a common.
Yeah, also in the church. Yeah.
Lastly, I think you also gave the example, I think that find it also interesting. You say that it's also something which is naturally, nations against nations, so it's kind of acceptance as well. Or can you explain that?
Jesus said that in the last days, specific ethnic groups will, the Greek word for people is ethnic. So it's in, I'm not sure which chapter, but yeah, I can find it
somewhere.
It's the word is ethnic. That means that ethnic groups will be against other ethnic groups. And this is actually what, yeah, which is happening
in the world
through all the history, and even now we see.
But you say you even find something like that in the church.
Because it's a consequence of our sinful conditions. We are all mixed with that.
We should accept it.
No, we can't. We don't accept it, but we agree that it exists.
Yeah.
But it's also fullness to be optimist that you can remedy it through social development. Many people believe that through social development they can save the world, or technical development. It's a great myth.
I think you are up.
Christians, when we are talking about what is the source of exclusion, discrimination, this is the sinful condition of people. That's clear. And in the church, we are struggling with that. We recognize that this is a problem, and we, through God's grace, are in the process of transformation. I think this is the only real way in which you can go in the right direction, because even when the secular society is speaking about values as human dignity, human rights, all these things are based at the end on the gospel of Christ. There is no other source of it. They can deny it whatever they want, but through remedies in the social order, we cannot solve the problems. That's absolutely clear. We can, delude ourselves a lot, but the reality is very sad, and we can see it. And Europe is in a very strange situation right now, because all the migrants and the migrant crisis, the United States, because all these people, they don't want to be included. They want simply to transfer their culture in a new territory. And again, if you want to keep a certain order in a certain territory, this order, is limited. It cannot be changed and individualized for all this to accommodate all the individual features of all possible people. The order is something as a middle ground for all. And even the very notion of democracy is also a rule of majority over the minority. Even the very description of what democracy is through using these terms majority and minority. Even the liberal democracy is using that, trying to reverse who is in the majority and who is the minority situation, trying to put the minorities over the majorities on different grounds. Again, we are playing games or power games over these same terms or groups of people, trying to define them in a different way, but we are still talking about majority and minority situations, even in a most developed type of political order like democracy and liberal democracy. So what to say about that? I'm not optimistic about the human development. So the only way is through grace. So the churches are in the better situation to fight the problem, but we still are fighting in our midst because we are human.
I think I agree on that point that you are not optimistic about the outside society. I think there's also not a simple remedy for whatever problems we have by development, because development is also determined by the majority rule. So that's not the issue. But what you say, that's the reality also, that we as a church find most of the time the same processes we find in society also within ourselves. And to recognize this, because we are part of this world, and the same, we are sinful people, there's something of that in us as well. So the same reactions to people who are different. Let me give an example. One of the issues that is not so much, it's not ethical or whatever, is how you react on people with a disability. They have, it's a very famous example of that. It's when you are an adult man and you are completely normal, and what we call normal, but you are in a wheelchair and there's someone else walking with you in the wheelchair, someone is approaching you, then he will ask not on the man in the wheelchair, but on the man behind him, how is he doing? Because we find it uneasy to react on people who are different, to give them room and to accept them as a human being. People with disability always encounter this problem. They are not seen as, they are different. So how can you react to them? You feel strange, you feel alienated. You look down.
And even looking down, this is an attitude which is make you to feel yourself for yourself, pity and sad. Because they are looking all the time down.
This is how to
reasons, but still.
How to connect, and these processes that you are finding in the world around us, you will find in the church as well. That's I think the sad part of it.
But I think not always this kind of reaction is issues from a bad intention. For example, I can say by my experience, sometimes I feel uneasy when I feel somebody with some kind of physical disability, and I think how would this person react if I directly ask him how this happened. Some people are can be very harmed by this question because it stirs in them this kind of bad thoughts and memories. So sometimes I just try to
avoid it.
To avoid it, yes. To approach this person as if he's not disabled.
So, but this is what we're talking about now. We see things around us. We feel somehow the church should be different. We talk about it tomorrow. But on the other hand, we recognize in the church processes or things that happen that are really types of maybe not intended, or maybe more intended that we will accept, but things that are happening in the church towards people who are different in their way of life, culture, language, ethnic group, ability, or whatever. Or like color, whatever. It's happening. Are there questions on this?
But a very interesting thing you said. We feel as Methodists, we feel marginalized.
Yes, we are.
We are marginalized. How does it feel? And how would others treat you? What do you expect from others to become more? Because I think I've heard it 2 times. Yeah, they say we are marginalized, we're excluded.
Yeah.
So how does it feel? And what to do to remove that feeling?
We feel that we hold the truth, and that's why we are marginalized. Oh, I'm joking. No. I'm joking, of course. But sometimes, but for example, many of us,
we don't care. We don't care.
many, I might be right for the most of us, but I'll speak for myself. I wasn't part of the Methodist Church in the beginning when I became serious with God, and when once in a while, when someone spoke about the churches in my hometown of Dobrich, the Methodist Church was mentioned with spittiness, and when that church that I became serious with God and ceased to exist, I decided to try in that pity church, to go there and to see what is there. And I saw why, in time, I learned and saw why the others cannot understand, or they do not give any effort to understand what the Methodism and the Wesleyanism is. I learned that I was a Methodist even before I knew it, because I started to read about grace and the work of God's grace in our lives and the process of sanctification. And I started to meet, for example, sacramental theology, and to learn more about it, and to learn about baptism and Lord's Supper. And I learned that the Methodist Church is the only Protestant denomination in Bulgaria that baptizes children. And this is one theological aspect that is putting us and making us marginalized by the other Protestant churches, because they are the majority that believes that only old people need, not old, but
baptism.
Yeah. And I learned why this is the practice of actually the majority of the church for the whole 2000 years. But yeah, we may find ourselves and feel pity for ourselves that we are marginalized, but also I cannot find any other decent theology there, and I'm sorry if this is offending you, but I cannot find a decent theology that would justify my personal experience with God, and the explanation that I got into the Methodist Church and the Methodist theology.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing.
Аз знам кого, защо не ми пука. Една песен се пее, аз знам кого съм повярвал, не съм повярвал в Христос. Не съм повярвал нито в говоренето на езици, нито в въпросите защо трябва да кръщаваме малки деца.
The majority of the Protestant society is evangelical, Pentecostal, charismatic oriented.
I know.
And they find the speaking of tongues not only as a sign of belonging to the church, but only a sign that you are saved. So, which is heretical in some
But looking at the
a month ago, I said to the church in Staro Oryahovo, I'm correct. In that village there are two other Protestant churches. Similarly to the church in Dolgopol say that we don't have the Spirit of God, the Holy Spirit. And I said, remember one thing. There is only one true evangelical church, and that's the Methodist Church.
So, at least
things became clear. Clarity. That's right. Yeah. But the consequence of this is that you are, in a way, marginalized when you look at the churches. Yeah, that's for sure.
Maybe there's Spain. Huh? Yeah, in a broader society, Protestants are marginalized because the common perception of Bulgarians is that the only real church is the Orthodox Church. And all other churches are sort of sects, cults, whatever. They're dangerous, suspicious, they're teaching, wrong doctrines, and they're, leading the people away from the salvation. And when we have to handle this, this is a big missional obstacle as well, because all the time we have first to explain to people that we are Christians, first of all. But it's difficult for them to understand it.
But maybe to add on this, just a small picture. What you say is that in this religious world, you as a church are marginalized. That's true.
In the religious world, in the broader society, because the Bulgarian society is not very religious, because the religion is perceived as a feature of national identity.
Yeah, I agree.
It's also on the level of national identity.
So broader than religiously, socially, you are as a church marginalized. The question we are also talking about is, apart from this, being a group, you still are probably have elements of marginalization to others inside your community. Thus, for instance, what we are talking about with your example, still we do as a group, being marginalized as a whole, we still may push people of a certain ethnicity or a background or identity outside of we are unwilling to accept them fully, because we feel different, that they are different. So also groups, you can easily understand when you have a Roma community as a community is marginalized in a certain way in society. But even in that community, you will find people on the margins of that community. Yeah? And that's the same with the church. As a church, you are marginalized. That's I can feel very strong about that. And it even may give you a calling, as you said, Vladimir, that you should have an open eye for those people who are marginalized. But nevertheless, you see also in your own church communities elements of that you are excluding certain people because of their ethnicity, for instance, or their language, that you are not able to accommodate them fully. Maybe you try, but you can't. Maybe you want, but you're not successful, or whatever the reason may be. That's the process you have in every church community. When you look at the Netherlands, it's the same is true. I'm pastoring in a congregation with only 50 members. Our village is 1,800 people. We are the only church there. And only 3 of them are coming from that city. So we are not in the center. We are very small. And our way of thinking is not common. I do have youngsters in my catechism class. They say, I'm the only one at school who's going to church. So you're completely not in the center. Our way of life is different. Our priorities are different. So in that sense, we are also in the margin. But still, you can, in your community, some people are less accepted than others. And that's what we are talking about. I want to go to the second group. What do you think about those key questions? Is the church different, or do you still find elements of exclusion inside the church, and why? Who wants to share? You want to give a short report? You were ready for it. Oh, everyone who is going out when he comes back, he is the one.
До някаква
Will
степен
you exclude yourself?
Ей, ти тук може. До голяма степен това, което Владо спомена, се дискутира и в нашата група. Всъщност спомена се, че основната причина за отлъчването или за изключването, която е крайна, е когато има липса на промяна и покаяние от страна на хората. Като разликата спрямо обществото е такава, че в църквата се пристъпва по-скоро към отлъчване, когато е необходимо, с цел този човек да се поправи, и това се прави с любов. Причините за изключването от обществото, главната е поради греха. Също бяха споменати някакви видове, за които и Владо спомена, за това, че нали, няма юдеи и гърци, но всъщност има етническата дискриминация в някои протестантски среди. Аз лично мога да заявя, че никога не съм видял такава дискриминация в методистката църква. Това смея да го твърдя най-отговорно, но съм свидетел на такава дискриминация в други протестантски деноминации в България. Но в нашата църква аз толкова години не съм забелязал, не съм видял такъв проблем. Точно обратното бих казал. Точно обратното. За религиозните предразсъдъци от страна на православната църква също беше споменато по отношение на нас. Да, също. Да, и ние към тях. И общо взето нещата се препокриват с това, което Владо спомена.
It's very common for the Pentecostal society to think that we are a church that where the Holy Spirit isn't there.
Okay. Can you? Oh, you gave me your microphone already back because I want to. I do have a question. What made it possible for you as a congregation to bring together those groups who are so separated in society?
Приобщите тези групи, които по принцип са отхвърлени от обществото. Не само те. Какво методистската църква според тебе е успяла да направи, за да ги приобщи, за да се чувствате приобщени? Пример.
Ако е на чисто етнически принцип, ако това е въпроса, значи, айде аз така ще кажа, моите наблюдения. Обзарвеше, да. Всъщност, когато за първи път се срещнах с служители, с пастори от методистката църква, които дойдоха в Бургас, видях нещо по-различно. Видях едно отношение на уважение и на любов към хора от друга етнос. И това всъщност отвори голяма врата за комуникация, за разговори и така. Това е нещо, което беше забелязано, чистосърдечие, желание наистина да бъдем едно семейство, една църква. Докато, пак казвам, в други протестантски църкви съм свидетел на такива дискриминации, които са от страна на високопоставени български пастори към ромските пастори. И това отношение в нашата църква, което е отношение на уважение, на любов, на единство, това всъщност помага на всички църкви да се изграждат позитивно. Имам предвид за тези, които са от ромските и от турскоговорещите църкви. Защото и хората забелязват това уважение. това, тази любов, няма дискриминация. Аз всъщност това го забелязах още от първия път. И винаги съм го споделял.
Okay, thank you for sharing, because that is the question, what makes it different? When you look around you, you see a lot of exclusion, a lot of people who are not involved and not accepted, discrimination, exclusion. And you see, in our church is different because of respect, love. Do you experience...
И нещо, само да допълня, ако може. И това всъщност се отразява и в начина на посрещане на хората, както и от двете страни. Това е резултат точно на тази приемственост. Няма някакви граници между нас.
There is no border, there is no wall between us.
Няма юдеи и гърци.
And we can truly say to a bigger degree that there is no Greek or Jew.
Може би назад във времето имало такива, със сигурност такива водачи, проповедници, които умишлено създаваха такива етнически разделения, но сега не.
Някъде наричат ромските пастори нашите по-малки братя. Нашите по-малки братя. Значи не си ги наричат. Не е много далеч. В недалечното минало. Обаче не си ги наричаме братя. Когато винаги, когато сме имали обучителни семинари някъде, ние, когато дойде време да нощуваме, ние не сме се делили в една стая да сме само българи, в другата да са си нашите по-малки братя. Винаги сме били заедно. Така че това за нас няма, поне и за мен, поне никога няма разлика на тая. Не, мъже, жени не сме спали. Не знам, ако ви сте спали, аз не мисля, че слушал. Ви сте били.
Да, в нашата група ние всъщност обсъдихме нещата, които до момента говорихме, но установихме, че всъщност Методистската църква в България нямаме този проблем за изключване на хора. И ако има някаква група хора, които просто нямат достъп до Методистската църква, става въпрос за технически проблем. Като, например, хора с неравностойни положения, които нямат чисто физически достъп до залата на църквата. Ни забраняваме хора нито от етнически произход, нито от някакви други неща, защото и ние се отдаваме това нещо, защото Методистската църква е иерархична църква. Има ред и дисциплина, има устав и при нас всеки пастор в своята църква не е цар да решава за себе си, а има установен ред за всичките църкви и независимо от преразсъдъците на дадения пастор, той преди всичко се подчинява на Божието Слово и на дисциплината на църквата. Затова ние смятаме, че нямаме този проблем за изключване на хора, маргинализиране на група хора.
And especially with the disabled people, we find case-to-case scenarios how to find access for them to be in the church. Аз добавих само, че работим случай по случай, когато има нужда някой да бъде въведен в богослужебната зала. Дали ще намерим двама по-яки мъже от църквата да помогнат с количката, докъдето трябва, макар и да някой да не е удобно. Случай по случай, case by case, we find solution on the ground.
Онова, което бихме искали, нали, да добавим за всичко това, което говорихме, е това.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing. 1 hour straight, yeah. Strengthening the same point. But you have the feeling that within the Methodist Church, the organization is in such a way that even when you have ideas that are excludable, that you cannot.
Който има идея за изключване, го изключваме. И решаваме проблеми. И така в миналото се работи. Създаваме виждане.
When you think about your congregation, do you see elements of there in this area should we do more or invest more or more openness or
такъв разговор в църквите за погледните обществото. А какво можем да направим за изключените групи? И стигаме до забавянето на погледните
Да. You don't struggle with certain aspects of disabled background. You don't think there should be done in this area more or that.
A lot of things need to be done.
Yeah,
but we are like ostriches. When we see the problem, we just put the heads. At least there was a time when it worked like that. If you don't see the problem, there is no problem, right? But I think we are trying at least to alleviate that is today at the church. We are trying to teach our people that we can't be ostriches no more. But we need to face the problems and to be missional churches. So maybe for some problems we don't want to think about them. We deliberately put them aside and we don't think about them. But for others, we are deliberately thinking about it. Казвам, че може би имало време, когато сме били като щрауси и сме се забивали главите в земята, защото като не виждаш проблема, го няма. Но колегията, който сме в момента, всички ние сме различни хора и мисля, че сега много повече обръщаме внимание на проблеми, които преди не сме искали да обръщаме.
Can you give an example of one of the stories?
Well, it's not connected to the marginalized and to a group of people that is marginalized, but it's mainly connected, and it's still connected to this, because if we teach ourselves and our societies to be missionally, to think missionally, they will start thinking about this too, about these group of people that could be also a missionary field. So I think now the tide is turning. That's at least what I see. Дали можем да дам пример за това, което което споря, тъй като се опитваме да научим църквите си да бъдат мисионерски насочени, защото ако мислим за достигане до невярващите, в един момент ще започнем да мислим за достигане на тези групи от хора. Тоест, хем е свързано, хем не е съвсем свързано с да мислим за маргинализираните. Хем е и хем не е.
Вижте сега, аз мисля следното. Ние като една маргинализирана общност на фона на цялото общество, нямаме проблем с достигане до маргинализираните. Те сами си идват при нас. Повечето от нашите хора не са нито с високо обществено положение, нито с някаква значима позиция в обществото. Доста от тях са хора, които едвам функционират на границата на бедността и така нататък. Точно както апостол Павел описва църквата в Коринт, за да ги приземи малко там. Което означава, че църквата по дефиниция е marginalized community. В момента, в който църквата е решила да стане част от естаблишмента, нещата са се объркали тотално. Така че, като такава маргинализирана общност, нашия най-голям мисионерски проблем е как да достигнем до останалите. Как да достигнем тези, които не са на маргинализирани групи. И там ние се оказваме изключително слаби. Така че, как да кажа, не че сме преуспели, нали, в работа с маргинализираните, но нашите църковни общества са си предимно съставени от подобни хора. Особено в по-малките населени места, пък и не само в по-малките, дори в по-големите населени места. Така че нашия голям проблем е как да достигнем останалите, които се мислят за нещо в този свят, които имат добро обществено положение, които са добре образовани и така нататък и така нататък. Методистката църква, поне преди комунизма, се е славила с, поне в големите градове, с добра работа предимно в тези групи на население. След промените ние се втурнахме в обратната посока, в което няма нищо лошо. Защо точно сме го направили, не искам да влизам в подробности, за да не станат болезнени тия анализи. Било ни е по-лесно, според мен. Било ни е по-лесно така да го направим, но според мен ние нямаме никакво право да насочваме нашето внимание ексклюзивно само към тази група. Да, ние трябва да запазим чувствителността си, нашите църкви да са отворени за абсолютно всички, но да не стане така, че бидейки отворени ексклюзивно за тази група, те да се окажат затворени за останалите. Yeah, because sometimes when we are so focused on marginalized groups, somehow the church is becoming closed for all others. It's a phenomenon, but it's a serious one, and we have to think seriously about it again. Because somehow we make ourselves incapable to reach and to work with these people, you know? Or we are judging them that day because they are, so well placed in the society, they rely only on themselves, so they don't need Christ, or not begging for mercy. It's easy to say that, oh yes. And to justify ourselves because of our incapability to reach them. And said, okay, it's better to stay here
these people, small people, and again, we are looking down to them. It's easy to lead them. It's easy to manipulate them. They will obey us easier. There is this temptation again. And yeah, I will tell that at the beginning when we started our church, it was much easier to go and start church in a marginalized group of people because they will be thankful to you for what you've done. And the others, intelligent, well-educated, they will make troubles. How to handle them if yourself is not capable to handle them. So somehow we went in that direction in order to say how successful we are missionary. But we simply connected the need of the people with our missional zeal. And in some places and cases, our motivation was not completely pure. So in the process of restoration of the Methodist Church, this majority-minority setting was very much present. Let's say it clearly. How we handle it meanwhile to land in the situation like that, to be really inclusive, with God's grace. Yes. I cannot say that anyone did a big thing for that. God somehow managed to put all the pieces in the puzzle in the right place. And now we realize that this is the best way to proceed. And we also realize that in a way, when our focus is so centered on the different sorts of marginalized people, we are becoming more and more incapable to work with others. So we are somehow in our work marginalized all others because we are not capable to work with them, or we don't feel ourselves confident to start this type of work. So you have, the issue that we're talking about is in fact very complicated because you can approach it from different angles, and every time you discover for yourself spots in your work or in your perception that are deeply problematic. And we have to be very honest when we evaluate our history, why we did what we did. No, all of pure intentions, or because it was easier for us to do that way, or because our Western partners and donors were more generous when we work with marginalized people and not so happy when we are focusing on white Bulgarian guys. And we said, okay, we need the money, so let's go in that direction. So what kind of motivation is this? And I will add this, one more thing and I will stop. And this is also our, obligation to be completely honest with our partners, because many times they are happy and joyful to invest in particular directions. But we have to say, okay, in this missionary situation, we realize that there are also other goals equally important. And if you want to work with us, let's look in that direction as well. I know the other one is very attractive for different reasons, guilt, shame, whatever. But there are other directions that we have to work on it. So sorry for being so.
I want just to add that the church was never intended that to be focused on a certain group of people. By definition, church was designed by God to be for all the people. So when we say we want to be a missional church, we see the world as our parish. And by definition, the church is not the place for discrimination. No matter if we see or feel that in the church, it's as we've already told, the consequence of our sin. But we are focused on reaching all the people. And the second thing that I want to tell is that none of us, no matter if we are ministers or what, we cannot reach to all the people. Some of us will be more successful in reaching Roma people, other in reaching, for example, well-educated people, others businessmen or other groups. We cannot be everything for everyone. We may try to be, like Paul said, yeah, I'll try to be, but we see that we have limitations, and of course we cannot be equally effective for all groups of people. So it's about specific calling, I think, in the church. And when we work together as a church, we will be and we will reach the goals God has intended. That's my opinion. I just wanted to add that.
Които вървяха, които сега, когато си мисля, защото известно време бях нещатен сътрудник с филма Исус. Доброволен сътрудник, така да се каже. И когато сме ходили да прожектираме филми, местата бяха определени естествено от тогава кампус Crusade for Christ ли беше, с това Агапе България. Ние сме отивали, имаше един този ръководител, тази вечер ще бъдем там, не отиваме, правихме всичко, на което бяхме обучени да правим. И истината, че около Варненския окръг, тук най-много именно тези общества отговориха. Те пожелаха да се съберем след прожекцията на филма, за да минат чертях принципа и така едно обучение. Те отвориха домовете си и сърцата си за това нещо. Пробвали сме на други места, тогава поне при нас не се получаваше. Идваха за кратко време, няколко пъти и си това, като разбираха, че ние сме малко по-различни от православната църква, и спираха да идват. Така, те са сектанти и толкова. Въпросът е как се използваше това нещо по-нататък от някои хора за съвсем други неща. Но тогава така беше. Сега не знам, нали, Божа благодат е за това, че тези хора са твои сърца. Аз никога няма... Другото, което е, аз лично също ще споделя с, както брат Влади каза, аз лично дълбоко в себе си, аз се чувствам некомфортно, примерно да говоря с хора, които имат примерно с хора, които са примерно имат по-високо образование с тях. Аз ми е комфортно да говоря с тези. За мен беше ужас, когато Бедрос ме изпрати в Аксаково, защото там хората са с по едно-две висши образования. Костваше ми неимоверно много усилия, за да мога да си подготвям проповеди, примерно за такова ниво. Да, помогна ми. Може да кажа, че това е един от най-добрият ми период като пастор в тази църква. Аз съм я израснал, защото трябваше да наблягам. На мен ме е много лесно да проповядвам в църквите, в които съм сега. Нали. Така че няма да забравя случая, когато един брат от ромско общество, превръщането от един семинар във влака, започна да говори с един студент, който се връщаше от лекции в София, и започна да му говори за Христос. И тогава той се обърна и му каза: ти знаеш ли кой е Иван Вазов? И каква литература е написал? Той каза не. И той се обърна и му каза: когато го научиш, тогава да ми говориш за Христос. Нали, сега, когато не се чувствам комфортно, в смисъл подготвен, за да говоря, да, аз мога да споделя Христос. Това е нещо, което го знам. Това е нещо, което съм го преживял дълбоко в живота си. Но по-нататък, аз лично се чувствам никому. Признавам си го с чисто сърце. И може би тук ви по-млади колеги, които сте, би трябвало да работите в тази посока. Аз се замислям и за нещо друго. Това, което правим в църквите, смисъл, хвалението, начин по който проповядваме, то също е една част, в която можем да селектираме групите, които идват в църквата. Може да се селектират групите. Дори говорихме вече за възможността различни групи да влязат в църквата поради устройството на църковната сграда. Но дори хвалението, ако ние пием хваление, което се приема повече от младите хора, старите трудно биха. Когато отидах в църквата, се върнах в църквата в Долен Чифлик и се опитах да ги уча да пеят песните, които пеем във Варна, абсолютно нищо не се получаваше. Аз много скоро разбрах, че това е загубена кауза. Започнах аз да се уча да пея техните песни, за да им добре. И дори когато идват нови хора, те по-възприемат тези нови песни, отколкото наши. Такава е тяхната култура.
Може. Да. Не, въпросът е, че всичко това, което говорихме, това, че пред нас е дилемата дали да направим както апостолите в началото, да вземем под нашата закрила маргинализираните хора или да хванем да променим обществото, в който няма да има маргинализирани хора.
Христос няма да стане. A big dream. Okay.